Boom. What is up, guys? Hello. Welcome to the Transparency. It's a back-to-backer. I had to finish up over there because we were talking about Idaho 4. And I wanted to have a back-to-backer because I want to talk about Idaho because I just love Idaho. You guys, I have something to show you. See this picture right here? See this picture right here? I have a question. I want to know why Brenner Drake's best friend was a person of interest in the murder of Brenner Drake. Yeah. That is Bubba, a.k.a. Craig Fant, restaurant guru, but also wrote bad checks. He was, I don't know. He liked to go to the casinos and gamble like $600,000. But I took a look at his eyes here. I took a look at his frame, and I want to know why. Why would the police think that this man, who's like his best friend from like college and football years, Brenner Drake's, like, you're gonna put him? He lived in Mississippi, Florida, Mississippi, like was nowhere near Idaho at the time of the crime. Okay, so unless you believe that he paid for Brenner Drake to be murdered, how is this man? Why would you even think that he is a person of interest? You know, do you think that he, like, I'm being serious. The police put this man in a 6-pack lineup. The police put him in a 6-pack lineup. Then I did a little bit of digging. And I thought to myself, you know, all of Brenner Drake and Jennifer Drake's kids, they all have brown hair. They all have bushy eyebrows. And they have a blend of Brian and Jennifer, except for their eldest one. He's got piercing blue eyes and blondish, like reddish hair, like light skin. And I thought everybody has bushy eyes, you know. So I said, I wonder if there's any way possible. I mean, what are the odds? You never know. Well, that escalated quickly, right? I mean, why would he be a person? He's the one that paid for that billboard. He's the one that, he's the one that took them to all the going. He's the one that allegedly gave Brian $10,000. He paid for all their vacations when they would go and do all this crap. And they would go for like 10 days at a time. When they did this stuff like once, twice a year that they, you know, started recently doing. And there was like a swinger incident where they were all in the hot tub, like praying or whatever the fuck they were doing. Weird shit. But at the end of the day, I thought maybe, why would the police even consider this man a person of interest? Who is this guy? Well, it's Brenner Drake's best friend. He lived in Mississippi. He lived in Florida, Mississippi. Runs restaurants. Then after the murder of Brenner Drake, Brenner Drake, Brian's eldest, moves and goes and stays with this guy. And he's living with him. I don't know if he's living with him or if he's living around him. But he's like, he hired him. Brenner Drake is living in Mississippi right now. And he has been. Okay? That's not over. He's just got a little double chin going on. But, you know, just, you know, nobody takes really good DMV pictures. Whatever. Now, something else I want to bring to your attention. Everybody always says, like, how did they get on? Why Dr. Moore? Like, why did they ever even think about Dr. Moore? Well, Jennifer Drake had a Facebook group. She still has it. And prior to that, One of the Facebook people posted like a story. But it was also in this, but it was also on Jennifer Drake's page. And it was an article. Let me back out of this. Okay, this is what gets posted. And this gets shared to the police. Okay. And it is Office FBI and Task Force search for killer or killers. March 16th, 2020. It'll be the first, see? Posted by Aaron Elizabeth. And at approximately 7:29 p.m. Thursday, March 12th, officers of the Bonners Ferry Police Department, assisted by the Boundary County Sheriff's Office, responded to a call of shots fired at 6811 Main Street. Funny thing is that they didn't respond there. They were just circling the area. On arrival, officers discovered Kootenai County resident Dr. Brenner Drake, 45, deceased as the result of a gunshot wound. The local paper also states that the FBI is on this case. Listen to this. It is very rare for the news to report the FBI being involved in any of the other 100 deaths we've reported on thus far. This makes 102 in our series. They go around, and any doctor that's a holistic doctor, and they are labeling Brian a holistic doctor, they believe that somebody is out killing off holistic doctors. And they use this as a way to go and talk to Dr. Moore and say, hey, we think that somebody might be trying to kill you. But now see, I want to know who Aaron Elizabeth's source is. Ready? Right here. The local paper explains that the Boundary County Sheriff's Office, Boundary County Prosecutor's Office, Idaho State Police, the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, and the FBI Federal Task Force are all on the case as well. Let me tell you something. Do you know that nobody knew any of this except for one person? Jennifer Drake. Jennifer Drake's the only person that knew and was told this. Guess what day she was told this? The same day this was printed. March 16th, 2020. I believe that Jennifer Drake is a source of this, just so you guys understand. Because nobody knew. This wasn't in paper. Nobody knew this. Okay. But Jennifer Drake did. Because they told her. Because Jennifer Drake asked a really weird question, which was, well, when were you going to stop? Like, when will you stop doing this? You mean investigating your husband's murder? We're never going to stop. Well, who's the lead on this case? You know what I mean? Like, so to date, this is the largest amount of agencies we've seen on a holistic doctor death. So do you see the angle that she is trying to do here? She is trying to make her husband's murder be about his career. Okay. That's what she's done from the beginning. And this is where it started. And this is what they open up and talk to Dr. Moore about this fucking article. Bonners Ferry Police, the Kootenai Valley Times had the following to say on the case as well. A person of interest was detained and questioned. This person was later released, but remains under investigation. That's not even true. They were not remained under investigation. Damn. Way to lie. Bonners Ferry Police Chief Brian Zimmerman. Well, Brian Zimmerman is not the Bonners Ferry Police. Oh, yeah, no, he is. Bonners Ferry Police Chief Brian Zimmerman assures city residents that although this was a tragic loss of life, evidence thus far indicates this was an intentional act, not random in nature. Okay, that's just what they always say. The Bonners Ferry Police Department asks those who may have information that might assist in this investigation contact your current on-duty police officers. Your current on-duty police officers. Ain't no tip line. What are you talking about? So we just called that number, and guess who's answering that? Dave McClelland. Fucking asshole. Owner, admin, director of We Care, a safe place to heal. You guys, owner, administrative director of We Care, a safe place to heal, VA and Community Health Wellness Center, wrote the following heartfelt tribute on his Facebook page today. Okay. Who would have provided this to Sugar Tits Aaron? Well, I believe Jennifer Drake. This last week, our We Care family suffered a tragic loss. One of our practitioners, Dr. Brenner Drake, was murdered outside his office in Bonners Ferry. Shut the fuck up, Lana. Maybe that's why Brenner Drake's sweater had all that soil and vegetation. Look at this. Who produced this information? Why are the people that Brenner Drake worked with saying that he was killed outside his office in Bonners Ferry? Wild, right? This senseless tragedy took us all off guard. The loss is felt deeply, and our grief for his wife and family is hard to express. Brian was one of the founding practitioners here at We Care and was a key component in its development. His quiet demeanor and gentle manner was a cornerstone example of how we envisioned all of our practitioners to be. He was loved and respected by everyone he worked with, all of his patients and everyone he came in contact with. His skill and professionalism were respected by all, but it was his warmth and ability to listen with such attention that endeared him to the staff and patients alike. Who wrote this? Who truly wrote this? We know very little of the reason for Brian's death, as the police are still investigating. But what we do know is he was a great chiropractor, a good friend, a beloved husband, and cherished father to children who are in unimaginable grief at this moment. He was a part of the We Care family, and we stand together in our loss and grief and in providing what little comfort his family may find in our condolences. But we stand together still. We will marshal forward, helping people find a better and healthier life without interruption. Everyone who knew Brian knows it's what he would want. He always put the patient's care first. He will not let anything stand in the way of this legacy. As we know more of any service arrangements or aid needed by his family, we will keep you informed. Yep, they just got that mail though. Let's see. Rest in peace, our brother. You will be missed and never forgotten, Sean Burke. Well, Sean Burke was interviewed. Okay. Sean Burke was interviewed. Well, then this person went ahead and a GoFundMe page has been set up to help the Drake family during this difficult time. Our heart goes out to Sean Burke and Dr. Drake's family, friends, colleagues, patients, and all that knew him. Dr. Maricola and I just arrived back in the country this morning, but since law enforcement has asked for help with their number and information listed above, I wanted to get this information out as soon as possible. What? In light of this and everything going on in the world right now, we ask that you give your loved ones a hug today and appreciate one another. We hope that Dr. Drake's murder is solved as well as other unsolved homicides in our series of 102 doctors who have died, which you can read by clicking here. Stay safe, Erin Elizabeth, East Coast of Florida. Source Cooney Valley Times. And maybe that's just another other citing is their source is Cooney Valley Times. Okay, now this was literally if anybody wants to write Erin and ask her, oh. Well, somebody responded because it was an online thing. So here. So very sad watching the strange murders over the last few years and the ridiculous excuse the police give in the end. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and I'm so sorry for every one of these families. Being a person who's been ill with chronic illnesses since I was 25, it makes my heart so sad because there are so very few doctors out there that really know how to relate to their patients in a caring way that is respectful instead of insulting. Why does it always seem that it's the good ones that get taken? I pray that God gives this family strength as they go through this horrible situation in their life. May God bring them peace that passes all understanding and the truth of what happened to the wonderful doctor and their family, and the ones that are responsible be held 100% accountable. The ones. Okay, everybody. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, guys, just so you know, this is the article that just was like freaking a couple paragraphs. This got shared, and this is when they were like, oh, Dr. Moore, have anybody come here trying to kill you? Because we think someone's trying to take out holistic doctors. That's funny that they didn't visit any other doctors and ask and tell them that. Fucking lies. This is all lies. We need to encourage bottled water purchases. I guess. Who needs bottled water purchases? This is wild how they dismiss the common suspects. All right, guys. So back at it here. Brian Drake, clearly murdered. Brian Drake, I believe, is the ultimate victim here because there'd be nothing worse, nothing more betrayal than your wife being involved in your demise like this. And it's only because Sugar Tits Jennifer Drake said that Brian Drake was shot through the window. Meanwhile, scientific evidence is going to prove that Brian Drake was never shot through any window. So therefore, why would Brian Drake tell Jennifer Drake that he was shot through a window when he in fact wasn't? And yet his back is just completely covered in dirt and vegetation and soil, and his fingernails have dirt underneath them. Oh, and let's not forget Brian Drake was drunk at the time that he was killed. Okay. So I wanted to come back to, why would Brian Drake's best friend be a person of interest? Literally, like, put in a six-pack lineup, right? Wild. Brian Drake's desk, just perfectly nothing out of place. That's not a man that just is about to peel over and gasping. Okay, and then breaking news here. Again, Isaac Funderburg is interviewed. Here's a picture of him. There's a picture of his car. And then here's a picture of him with his dogs. Okay, so you could see his car, right? But he was interviewed, and they said that him and his girlfriend were at their apartment, and at 6:30 at night, that they saw, because they were home, that they saw a vehicle over there at Les Schwab and maybe another couple vehicles, and that they were acting weird and blah, blah, blah. It just, something seemed off. Well, I would like to point out to everybody that this is a picture. Okay. Of surveillance camera of Isaac Funderburg's vehicle. At the time that he says that he would have been outside, or rather, not outside, inside his apartment, looking down around the 6:30 time frame, when he would have witnessed all this commotion going on with outside Les Schwab. Isaac Funderburg is out driving around. And the time here is 6:43 and 11 seconds seen on this cam. And then it's 6:43 and 39 seconds as he's traveling up the street. There is his vehicle again, which he passes his apartment. This motherfucker is out driving around. He's not in his apartment looking over at Les Schwab, okay, to see anything like this. This is all fucking lies. But finally, here are the missing pieces to a puzzle that is going to blow open in court. Like literally blow open in court. So good luck, buddy. Joyce Johnson, how are you? Lovely. And I was following Erin Elizabeth for a long time. She was reporting on all the doctors that were being suicided because they were alternative doctors. I remember reading about Dr. Drake from her. Interesting. That just went right in line with everything that they were trying to say is why Brian Drake was murdered. Because he's a holistic doctor. No. And then I'm going to leave you guys with a nice little hint here that Brian Drake's wife, Jennifer, called life insurance 13 times. 13 times and got paid out her $1 million life insurance policy within 3 weeks of Brian Drake's murder. She got a rushed death certificate. I mean, are you kidding me? She called life insurance before he was scraped off the motherfucking floor. His body was laying there until like over 24 hours. Right around 24 hours, I guess. She's calling life insurance. $13 times because they keep records of that. Now, Isaac Funderburg says that he called 911. We have still yet to find those 911 calls. Jennifer Drake was taking screenshots of her husband's dead Life 360 app traveling around. Told law enforcement that she hadn't looked at Brian Drake's Life 360 app since, before his death. Lies. She took a screenshot of it. It's on her phone. It's in the Cellbrite. That's going to come out. First of all, as local law enforcement and as well as state police know, when you are taking in evidence phones, you're supposed to be putting those phones in airplane mode. And that just didn't happen because Brian Drake's phone is literally, because Jennifer Drake, thanks to Jennifer Drake, clicking, as well as the Life 360 data proving that it all of a sudden began working again when ISP transported the evidence from Bonner's Ferry to Hayden, where ISP District 1 is located. Yeah. No. Let's talk about the connections of how Brian Drake would how would he's a big guy. How much would you think that you would have to drink in order to, by the time that you're going to be dead and killed at, like, let's just say 7 o'clock, okay? And if your last patient left at, I don't know, 7:18, well, then you would have been drinking with your patient, right? But let's even say that, let's go with their time frame at 7:26, okay? And Aldora Gatchel and them left at 7:19, 7:18. When did Brian have a chance to get fucking annihilated? To the point that he was drunk, like, by the time that he was killed, he had, the 0.008 BAC, which is legally, you're drunk. There's no way that he would have, he couldn't just start drinking for 7 minutes. Okay. If you drink daily a lot, well, or if you start tipping him back if I just crack Aldora's and I'm like, I'm not cracking his back or adjusting him. And if that's over and done at 6:30, and then we start, drinking from 6:30 until what? Or you would have to, like, literally be like drinking another day, or you went to lunch and got drunk, and came back and saw patients. Straight vodka for an hour. You could do it. Just think about it though. Like, there was constantly a flow of patients in there. And if they truly thought that they had an opportunity to take, all of these water bottles that they claim that had alcohol in them, but they didn't take them and test them. Well, I looked and this seal wasn't even broke. Not broke. That one's broke. And there's more on the floor. Yeah, just a steady, And so their thing they're saying is that Brian had alcohol in his vehicle. It was bottom shelf Burnett's vodka. Okay. And that he put straight vodka in a water bottle and he would just drink out of that water bottle all day. Okay. But yet none of the people that actually had him as a patient, when they asked him, hey, did you smell alcohol on him? Like, no, I've never smelled alcohol on him. He's never smelled like that. This is royally going to fuck up the police too. They moved this in order to do their little alleged reenactment with the crime scene. They had to move this in order to take pictures, in order to put their rod through, because otherwise it would clip this. That's how I can't wait. I can't wait for the fuckerage. I get that you can't smell vodka, but yes, I mean, you sometimes can. Let's not kid ourselves. Especially if someone's sweating a little bit. And why was Brian Drake stuffing his briefs with a sock? Okay. I believe he was trying to prevent, when he was giving these massages, that his maybe boner would stick out a little bit, but more importantly, that it would get a little wet in his pants. So he layered up with an extra layer of protection so that he wouldn't have like these wet spots, but more importantly, when this was discovered, this was discovered during the autopsy of Brian Drake. They, have to undress you. And there's photographs of the boxers and then the boxers being separated with like pulling out of the sock where like the cup of the balls would be. And so you're pulling the sock out, you're video recording it. And then miraculously, this sock doesn't make it into evidence. Well, that sock could have somebody else's DNA on it, That sock is missing. You know what else is missing? They took the blinds, but they didn't take the window. There's the stool down there. They didn't take the stool. So we have no idea how tall it was. Over here, there's a pop-up chiropractic table. They left that. There was a piece of blonde hair on there. They unstrapped Brian Drake's leg brace / like wheelie thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and left that shit. Some products Kairos use smell like alcohol. He does use BioFreeze. That's interesting. That was in his bag. I wonder if maybe he would just tell people that's if they smell that, oh, I have BioFreeze on. Anyways, so they left Brian Drake's knee brace. They took it off of him before they bagged him. They let Jennifer Drake come into this office and literally take the knee brace with the rolly thing that would have had traces of, I guarantee you, dirt, potentially DNA. They didn't take the pop-up table. There was blonde hair on it, like a female's. They didn't take the window. Thank God they took the blind. They didn't take the stool. And when they measured, these motherfucking idiots, they didn't measure how tall the stool was from the ground. And this is Idaho State Police. These are the same people that processed the 1122 King Road house. It's disgusting. These people suck. They need to get new jobs. But because of their inept bullshit, it would prevent an innocent man being able to prove his innocence. So, next up. There would be a guy that was released, possibly from jail. His name is Sean Halsper. And there was a woman by the name of Stephanie Butler who was alleged to have an affair with Dr. Drake. And Stephanie, miraculously, somehow, was told that there was a shooting over there at Dr. Drake's building area around there. And in the morning, she just inserts herself, goes on over there, and literally has like 4 meet and greets with the police. None of these are recorded interviews. And she then calls and says, I need to give another tip, which is this Sean Halsberg guy. And guess what? They don't record that. Okay. Then they just call this woman, Stephanie Butler, and say, okay, hey, can you meet us at Super One? You know, the day after the murder, 312 or 313. You would think that they told her to meet at Super One because, we got to go there to get the cameras, you know? Nope. They don't get the Super One cameras. And they don't record their interview with with Stephanie Butler. They legit have 5 run-ins with this broad. Okay. And then somebody calls an anonymous tip on Stephanie Butler to say that Stephanie Butler and Brian Drake were fucking. Okay. Then Jennifer Drake writes Stephanie Butler a letter a year later asking her if they owe her any money from any past, like, thank you so much. Brian considered everybody like just family. And if we owe you any money because you paid in advance, let us know and we'll take care of it. How did you get Stephanie Butler's name and address, Jennifer? Oh, that's right. Idaho State Police just turned over the entire discovery to you. The entire criminal discovery is in the hands of Jennifer Drake. Oh my God. Oh my God. Now, Jennifer Drake would then go on to lie like legit lie about a man named Klaus. Telling the police that he had kiddie porn on his laptop and that she saw it and that it was in her house and that she made him leave. She told Brian to take care of it, and she does not want this man around her kids. But yet she's a Christian woman and does not, and this is like a year before maybe Brian's murder. And she's a Christian woman and she does not report this man to authorities. Spelled like this. Klaus. Okay? Come to find out, on the day of the murder, on one of the cell phone towers, there is a Klaus in the area using the phone around the time of the murder. Okay? Also, remember I just told you about the whole laptop and kiddie porn and all that shit? That never happened, but Jennifer Drake tells the police that happened. Why would Jennifer Drake make up this story, something that she was not involved in? There was an incident, but it didn't involve Jennifer Drake in any type of anything with this man. It involved her being the bearer of receiving secondhand to possibly third-hand information from her neighbor, Sonia. And Sonia, we're going to have a talk. Because Jennifer Drake cannot just be running around telling people, like the police, that this Klaus guy had kiddie porn on his, she saw it was boys. She saw boys. Do you guys understand that she told this to the police, the Idaho State Police, and they didn't do a fucking thing about it either? Klaus then would come over to Jennifer Drake's house. Okay? Literally come over to Jennifer Drake's house a day or two after Brian was murdered. And to pay his respects, and hands Jennifer Drake $1,000 check and says there's a lot more where that came from. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not taking this. And she tells the police that she's like not taking that money and that didn't take that money. Yet her bank account would reflect that hoe 100% deposited that grand. Because I saw it. She's just a liar. Now, maybe you should have said, oh, I just said I wasn't going to accept it, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So he just kept saying, like, there's a lot more where that came from. Okay? Come to find out, Jennifer Drake and Klaus are friends on Facebook. Klaus only has one friend on Facebook, and guess who that one friend is? Jennifer motherfucking Drake. He has one friend on Facebook, one. And it's Jennifer Drake. JD. Jesus Christ. Okay. Now, I want you guys to look up the name Brandon Hurst. Okay. He was ambushed and killed by fucking lowlife and was set up by his then or ex-girlfriend, Cantrip Gatos, or the fuck her last name is, okay? And this would be 6 months about after Brian Drake's murder. Okay. After. But right before his murder, right before he was murdered, Brandon Hurst was talking about the Brian Drake case. Was talking about what was weird that night. and that there was a guy in town that had a bunch of cell phones on him and was trying to get out of town. And he looked like fucking Jesus. And he had, kind of like darkish skin or Jesus type hair and dark eyes. And then he referred to himself as like Moore, Moore. Okay. And now Brandon Hirsch's little group that he hangs out with, it's known to everybody here. It's big drugs. Okay. And like we're not talking like weed and shit like that. Okay. We're talking about stuff that people, and there is a kid that was his good friend, Jake Van Etten, and Jacob. Jacob turned state's evidence because Jacob was with this girl named Cantrip, who names are, I don't even know what the fuck that is, but Cantrip Gatos or something like that. Gatlin it is, Gatlin. These two are together in a vehicle, okay? And they pick up a guy named Neil Mauser because Cantrip is going to get Neil Mauser to kill Brandon Hurst. And Neil Mauser just got out of prison, and Neil Mauser thought that Brandon Hurst was like ratting him out and shit like that. And okay. And if you go look at Cantrip's, she's finishing up her sentence. July 26, 2020, these two on their Facebook pages say that they got into a relationship. He would be dead just a couple months later, murdered. Okay? She got this man who is motherfucking 60. And then they got another man then to dispose of the body. Okay? But this murder happened with a 38, same as Drake. And it all centered around motherfucking drugs and ratting people out, allegedly. And right before Brenner Hurst's murder, they were talking about the Brenner Drake case. Also, right after Brenner Hurst's murder would be David Wiley. You look that name up. And he just supposedly got, just walked right into a walking train that literally went so slow like that, like a snail could beat it. But somehow the night before Thanksgiving, David Wiley, who was in the area the night of the murder, they say that, it's suicide. His vehicle's on camera the night of the murder. Then you have this guy, Clay, who, like I said, is plus 60. And he has a caretaker named Gwendolyn. And his best friends are Clark Halverson and his son, Matt. Clark Halverson, 70 at the time. He dies in June of 2020. Okay. He has a son, Matt. Grew up in Bonners Ferry and then moved to Boise. He then dies from a drowning alleged incident. Never found his body. His body was never recovered, though, from the Piute River. Okay. And this happened 2022. Right after, I'm sorry. Right after Dr. Moore's preliminary hearing, which was October 2nd, 2020, there would be a huge drug bust. On October 26th, 2020, we're talking $2.5 million of coke, heroin, pills, you name it. Then you listen to what Misha Davis has to say. And she was threatened that a bomb was going to go off thanks to the cartel. Right when she arrived back and was taking over the Senior Rec Center just a couple months ago in May. She reported this to the police, and they said that Clay had no means to truly make a bomb or have somebody, pay somebody to kill her, blah, blah, blah. And so they didn't press charges. Again, these are all things that Misha told me because we've talked before she was now in jail. But also Misha said before she was put in jail in May of 2024, she said that the police killed Brian Drake. She said that the mayor, Rick Alonzo, was involved with human trafficking and knew about her being human trafficked. And that Dave McClellan, the detective who went into Brian Drake's office and messed with the crime scene, was the same detective. Dave McClellan was the same detective that told Misha to get the fuck out of here and go back to Texas. And that was just right before she got arrested for all this false ass shit. Who'd I miss? Oh, now. Misha was married to Mike Davis. That's the gym that Brian would go to. Then she got married to Jasper Nauman. That's the city god. The city god's son. And their family runs basically that town. There's like 5 families that run that town. One of them's a judge. One of them, they run prostitution and they bring the girls in from Spokane. Okay. And they have them up in the cabins. Tevis Hall, the prosecutor in Brian Drake's case, aka in Dan Moore's case, died right after I talked about the 911 call about a half a year ago. Died on the side of the road. They said alleged heart attack, but Tevis Hall, he's dead. Then, I don't know if you guys know about the library incident over there in Bonners Ferry. There was a stripper pole. They were doing God knows what, but look up the library sex scandal. and put in stripper pole or something. But there was a Jeff Boiler, who was the lawyer that took on the library and all the bullshit. Jeff Boiler joined Dan Moore's team, and he again just died. Like 2 or 3 months ago. Dead. What else do we got here? That's be good enough, you guys. And then you have Eldora Gatchel, who just got back from Mexico. She's from Hawaii. She had her brother with her. They played a death song to Brian with the ukulele. Lied about white truck. And was visited by Bobby Goad from the sheriff's department the next day to give her the information to say the white truck. Okay. Because she was already gone. And Eldora Gatchel pointed the finger at Jennifer Drake. And Jennifer Drake pointed the finger at Eldora Gatchel. And that was their way to show that they were not in cahoots together, but really they were. So they both blamed each other to not let the authorities believe that they were in cahoots. And both in their interviews point the finger at the other. But when Jennifer Drake is asked if Eldora Gatchel has any kids, she says that Eldora has no kids. And anybody, if they were friends, would know that Eldora Gatchel has 2 kids. Okay? Very strange. Something very strange to lie about. And Eldora Gatchel wanted to go into business with Dan Moore in Hawaii. And Dan Moore said no. So Eldora Gatchel left being a patient. And I think has had a vendetta ever since. That's that connection. And then here's Brian Drake. He's just a drunk drug runner. Scam artist with wife, scamming the church, faithful footsteps, LLCs for what? Airbnb for what? Their own home. Weird as fuck. Addicted to porn. He's a cheater and hides behind God. And that's because Jennifer Drake is the same. Swingers. What else? All right, guys, that should keep you busy. Takes advantage of youth at church. Steve Menert, fake missionaries, and hiding money with church faithful footsteps scam. We're talking thousands. Thousands. Huge scam. Okay, there you go. All right, guys, study up. So, when you want to talk about the murder of Brian Drake, you got to talk about all that stuff. And if you don't, then if you try to say that Dr. Moore killed Brian Drake, you fuck it out of your goddamn mind. It's not there. The evidence isn't there. The crime scene isn't there. But what is there is the Bonners Ferry drugs, drunks, townies, and the city motherfucking gods. Is this the office of a man? Is this the office of a man? It looks like he got shot through a window while sitting right here at the corner. Don't you think that desk would just be a little tossed up? I think so. Definitely doesn't make sense or even fit, right? Yeah, the motive, nothing, none of it. All right, guys, see you soon. See you on the flip side. Much love. Got more coming. Make sure you guys visit the White Rose. Giddy up, giddy up. Peace.